Hello and welcome back to the Macca's Talk Hockey Podcast, the podcast where me and my good friend Dan today, and we're joined by my dad, not our dad, my dad, talk about English ice hockey, specifically the NIHL. And this is another team special. It is the Solway Sharks team special, where I think I've got an interview planned with Lewis Young, not 100% confirmed because I haven't done it yet, but hopefully, if not. The interview, if we get one, will be cut in. If not, it will just go as a normal special like we always do. But if you haven't watched the specials before, we basically go through each team, and this one's the Solway one. You can check out our other episodes after this one of all the other teams we've done. But we look back at last season, how they did. We have the interview, if there was one, so the interview gets played, and then we look at the roster they've put together this season and we give our expectations and our ones to watch each. And this is the Solway Sharks special. So we'll look back at last season, their second season in the National League. And again, they just missed out on that eighth playoff spot to the Telford Tigers. They finished ninth, and it was, Dan, another gutting ending for them after having a season where they were ahead of the Tigers for the majority of the season, and I think at one point they were 5 points ahead.
Mm.
But the Tigers do what they do, where they bounce back the second half of the season, and they got the playoff spot. And it was tough because I really thought Solway had the team last year to be able to get that eighth playoff spot, but they couldn't quite do it, could they?
Yeah, I mean, I think they did as well. They always have this sort of thing of starting off the year really good, the first half of the year, and then the second half of the year where the teams get better normally. Solway just seem to drop off that little bit, and that's when they got sort of caught out in the league and stuff like that, and sort of losing out on that playoff spot. And I think they struggle in the second half of the season when the teams go up a gear to obviously fight for those playoff spots and they sort of they stayed around the same position all year until, like you said, until Telford sort of overtook them. And once this happened, they struggled to sort of get those points to
Points
get back
over
up.
them. Yeah.
They were a team last season where they were going to overtime a lot. They were getting those 1 points here and there, but they weren't getting those solid 2 points home and away, 4 point weekends to really build up those points in quick succession and sort of get ahead of a team comfortably. Um, Obviously you saw we were talking before we recorded, they were like 5 points ahead of Telford, and in this league 5 points is nothing because you think that's literally one 4 point weekend and then one overtime loss, for example. And yeah, you just sort of they got to work on making that bigger cushion between teams below them, really.
Yeah, just that level of consistency. And I think, Dad, actually, they were quite a good home team. It's tough to go out to Solway and beat them in front of those Scottish fans, and their rink's quite unique. They know how to play on that rink. But it was those away trips, especially the long ones. I think they lost 6-5 three times in a row after leading the game by 2 goals. They lost 6-5 three times. That must be so frustrating as a team. And it was those kind of performances where if they just kept the puck out of the net, a few of those goals they would have won because they scored. Normally, when you score 5 goals, you should win the game, shouldn't you? But I think that was the key for them last year. On the road, they just let a bit too many goals go in and the momentum swang. And yeah, they couldn't quite get that playoff spot. But yeah, it's tough. But again, it is their second season, and we know how hard it is to try and settle as a new team in the National League. And they still have a lot of Scottish players as well who are kind of breaking their way into the National League.
Yeah, I think they were the if only team.
Yeah.
If only we hadn't quite, and yeah, I think, and also the depth within the team as well, depth of the squad as well comes into play, especially with the long travel every week. So yeah, they would have been a bit frustrated, and I think it just goes to show, doesn't it? Again, for a couple of seasons now, when other teams are able just to step up a gear slightly, so we haven't quite managed to do that consistently enough. So yeah, I think they'll be a bit frustrated and disappointed. Well, not a little bit, very frustrated and disappointed on the back of that. But again, home form not too bad. But again, that's part of the course. I think for some of the teams, they've been strong at home but challenged when they're going away. So yeah, another season, see what happens.
Yeah, I hope they'll be hoping third time lucky. And if we're looking at some positives from last season, Dan, I thought a lot of players did make step ups. Obviously, you got Dunbar and Gardiner who dominated the points, but you got the likes of Torren Anderson coming through, Cole Carruth who scored Michigan and he scored a couple highlight reel goals, and yeah, just so Bailey Thompson, for example, breaking into the team, getting his first National League goal. So I know they didn't make the playoffs, but you are seeing the little baby steps, which aren't just about winning, of them building their team for the future. And Torren Anderson, Bailey Thompson, and Carl Carruth, they're three very talented youngsters to come through, and I think they'll be big parts of Solway for the future.
I mean, before Solway, when Solway first came into the league, we were talking. Obviously, the player pool up in Scotland is very, very hard to recruit, especially where they are. They're not. They're just over the border. They're not
Yeah,
fully like
there's still
around
a few
Fife
hours
and
between them.
yeah.
Yeah,
So it's not like they're around sort of elite league teams. Still, the elite league teams around them are still like 2, 3 hours away, and so it's really hard to recruit. And what they needed to do is they needed to keep guys from when they're in the national one and sort of bring in some local Scottish lads. Hopefully people can travel and sort of build up that sort of young talent that they've got. And we said that before they joined in the season. That's exactly what they've done. They've built that those young core of players, and they're slowly building them into being those top Solway guys. And that's exactly what they had to do. It's unfortunate that their pool isn't the greatest. Obviously, a shame they can't pick up a few guys maybe from Leeds, etc. Like Hull, there's still a massive travel between them, so they're sort of right in the middle of sort of nowhere with like the player pool
in
wise. So they're
Dumfries.
just sort of having to build what they've got, and I mean, fair play to them. They're doing a really good job of that. And like we said with Martin Grubb before, he's a great guy for bringing up these young guys. He obviously coaches GB, obviously the under 20s, under 21s, I think it is, something like that. And yeah, he's a perfect guy at the top of that, and I think he's a big reason for why these young guys are getting the opportunities that they get, and sort of he knows the importance of getting these young guys and building them up into the players that Solway need.
Yeah, and yeah, they'll be disappointed, but again, it was a young team last season, and yeah, they couldn't quite get the depth going in those away games, to kind of help the likes of Dunbar and Gardiner, who were heavily relied on the points. Alderson again struggled a bit with injuries. But we'll cut to the interview, if we've had one, and we'll come back to talk about their new roster, because they've got a lot of changes in their roster and some exciting changes as well. Hello and welcome back. We've got another special guest for our Solway Sharks special. I'm joined by Lewis Young. How you doing, mate?
Yeah, not too bad, mate.
How's your summer been? We're about 3 weeks away till the season starts, so you've been resting up.
Yeah, just get back from holiday there. So no, it's been so far so good.
Nice one. Where did you go on holiday?
I was in Corfu just there, so that was
Oh,
good.
nice. Getting a bit of sun before coming back to Solway.
Yeah,
It's
exactly. I'm
always
generally
nice.
the sun doesn't treat me too good.
Nah, it's all right. But yeah, we'll go back to the start like we always do. Because you haven't been on before. So I remember we were chatting at Coventry, and you kind of grew up playing hockey in Scotland. Your dad was a big influence in that as well. But you grew up playing with Bjorkley Nordstrom, as I know you've got a jersey behind you, one of his. But do you want
Yeah,
to talk a bit about growing up in Scotland, playing with him, and yeah, just what it was like?
yeah. So obviously my dad got me into it pretty young. Would have been about 3 when I started.
Oh,
Um, so just in at North Air, the program there. So no, I started about 3. I think Ivan would have started a bit later than I did. So I'm in my dad's office and now he's a big supporter of him as much as me. So no, I just started there. My dad, he played for years, kind of since he was kind of 18, 19, just kind of SNL level. He got a pretty bad injury and started playing kind of recce hockey just as I was born, and also just being
yeah,
around the rink and stuff like that. Wanted to play the same as him. So I think I would have started playing him maybe 5 or 6, played together right through until he moved over
Sweden.
to Sweden. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Won a few
And
trophies
you
and stuff.
played in quite a few you got the opportunities to play in a few tournaments abroad against some European teams as well. What was there was one team which you faced, which was like a nutty quality team.
Oh
What was
yeah.
it?
We went to Sweden when we were maybe 9 years old. It was Ivan's dad that set it up, and honestly, it was like 20-minute games, like cross ice. We played against Dewgarden.
Yeah.
I think it was like 24-1. I think Ivan scored the only goal. But we played like a bunch of teams that whole week.
Yeah.
And I think our team maybe played 6 games, maybe scored 8 goals over the full time. I think he scored 7 of them. So
Oh,
he was an absolute joke. Then he was about 6'2" at 9 years old as well. So
bit of a
yeah,
cheat code having a one. But you then kind of grew up through the juniors in Murrayfield, and
yeah,
you were there really for quite a few years before you joined Solway. I know we'll talk about a couple other seasons you've had abroad, but how was it growing up in Scotland through that junior system at Murrayfield?
yeah, it was good. I think I moved there maybe when I was 14. Just knew a few boys in the team. Obviously, at that time they had like Edinburgh Capitals and a
Yeah,
kind of good junior system to move up through. So no, just decided to move there. A couple of boys that I grew up playing with as well. We all moved at the same time. So they're a
yeah.
really strong team. Ethan Reid, he's playing for Whitley Bay now. Played a couple of years at Romford, I think. So two of us, we kind of played juniors right from the start together. Moved up there, kind of really successful time. Then that's where I got my first taste of senior hockey as well.
Yeah, so how was that playing in the SNL? I know the league's come on leaps and bounds since then,
Yeah,
but it must have been quite cool coming in at such a young age, playing
yeah.
against some tough Scottish lads.
No, it was good. To be honest with you, I was lucky. We played done a really good team at the Racers. That was just as their first year started. So
Oh, nice.
played with even like some Boyd who I'm playing with now. Yeah, it's a really strong team. I mean, for me as a kind of young forward coming through, I think every guy in the top 6 forwards had played elite league games in that SNL team. So I mean, there was some games where you're winning by crazy numbers, but yeah, it's definitely a much more competitive league now than what it was when I was playing at. But it was good just in that year. We had the North One Cup as well when there was
Oh,
no
nice.
EPL, so played against some good teams like said Telford at the time, Hull Pirates.
Oh,
So no, it was a good year to get into senior
nice
hockey.
one. And then you got some opportunities to play abroad in Canada, which is the home of hockey, you could say,
Yeah,
and then in Hungary as well, which I've heard is a really nice place to go and play hockey.
yeah,
How did you find kind of being a young lad, being able to play in abroad?
yeah. No, I think everyone growing up, that's probably their dream to do that. So no, I mean, I tried to go out to Canada the year before, and then kind of parents wanted me to stick out my last year of school, finish that, get my exams and stuff like that done. So done that, moved out at 16, absolutely loved it. To be honest, so the team I played on, we weren't really affiliated with one team, one league. Sorry, it was like an independent program. So as much as I used to go on like my league prospects, it said I played 7 games, but I think over the course of that year, because it was just friendlies we were playing all the time, I maybe played 110 games across
Really?
the year. So
Okay. That's the stuff you
crazy,
don't see, I
yeah.
guess, online. Yeah.
And like even at the age I was at, I was playing with 2 teams. So I was playing under 16s as well, so I was still aged over there. So
Yeah, yeah.
the experience was mad. We were basically traveling to the States every weekend. We only played really maybe 10 games out of the 110 probably in Canada.
Yeah.
So it was traveling about the States and constantly on the road with all the boys. It was brilliant.
Nice one. Just getting on the ice a lot more than you probably would over in
Oh yeah,
Scotland.
yeah, exactly. I think when I was at Edinburgh, we were only doing like one training day, so it's like you're going up on a Wednesday and you're doing like 3 sessions at once. Whereas there, I was on the ice, every morning, before and then after school as well. So it was unreal.
Nice one. And then obviously COVID hit, so that kind of had to be blanked out that season, and you then went to Hungary. How was that? Because I know there's some pretty good junior systems over in Hungary.
Yeah, to be honest, with the COVID year, I actually went back out to Canada, so I was
Oh,
stuck there
nice.
for about 6 months. First 2 weeks,
Stranded.
well, the first 2 weeks we ended up playing maybe like 4 games, and then we get shut down straight away. So even like said going to school, I was then homeschooling, so I was literally stuck in a different country in my billet family's like house, just doing homeschooling and couldn't leave or nothing. So got to Christmas time and I ended up going home. Kind of obviously that was when quarantine was proper serious and all that, and then I was also the next year my plan was to go back out and play juniors in America.
Yeah.
And then hopefully kind of go that path and try to play in college there at some level or whatever. But no, I spoke to the guy that ran my program, and he had good relationships with a guy that was pretty high up in a team in Hungary. So went out. Originally, I was going to skate with maybe kind of 3 or 4 different teams and then decide which kind of place I like best. But Vasas where I ended up signing. I went there first, and the actual facilities that they play at is the facilities for the Hungarian national team.
Oh.
So the ice rink was unbelievable, like all the off-ice facilities. Like as soon as I went there, I knew I wasn't going to get a better spot than that. And one of the boys that had played at my program before, he played in the same team, so I was going to live with him. So just a good setup for me. But it was definitely a different experience. Like just living outside of Budapest, it's a cool place to play. And the level was really good. Like I went over in pre-season, first game we played against the best team in our league, but their Liga team is pretty much like an under 23 Hungarians team.
Oh wow, yeah.
So they had like 9 of their boys from the pro team playing. So like the level right from the start was like
the Erste League is a good quality league as well.
Yeah.
I think a couple the Swindon's imports come from that league, so
Yeah.
it's a strong league.
Don't get me wrong, a lot of the boys in that the team that they were playing at for Herva, they were kind of bottom end Liga team, but it's more kind of development. But they've got a team in the ICHL as well. But no, I mean, went out there, I had a good pre-season, came back for a couple of weeks because I saw my registration to go for the league starting. I actually ended up getting a bit of an injury in a skate over here, so when I went out, it just took me so long to get going. I think I played like my first 7 games. I think I had 1 assist, like in Hungary. That basically there's a stats kind of page that shows you literally everything, like every guy's time on ice, every shot he took. And I was like leading the league in the amount of shots taken and hadn't scored a goal. Yeah, it was brutal, man. So I ended up picking up a little bit and then get a pretty bad injury. I ended up fracturing my femur kind of October time.
Yeah.
So I ended up that was my season over. I ended up kind of rehabbing for about 6 months and then playing recce with my dad for a while. So
get back into it, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you come back home and you signed with who you are with now, the Solway Sharks, and they were the team which dominated the National One. It's got to be said. They won everything that season, and they had done for many years. So, how did you kind of find that getting a big role in that team, being in part of a winning environment as well?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I think to the fans and stuff in Solway, I probably came as a bit of a surprise that year. You know, I came off the back, like Jamie kind of coached me at Scotland under 17, so knew me well. In the season I was going out to Hungary, kind of phoned me before I went out, and they actually gave me a message about signing for Solway when I was in the airport on my way to Hungary the year before. So obviously it didn't happen that year, but after my injury, I was playing in a recce tournament down in Dumfries, and that's when he kind of came up to me. He's like, "What are you doing with yourself? Like, why are you playing?" And then kind of end up signing. And don't get me wrong, it kind of took me a little bit to get going. I hadn't played any serious hockey in just under a year. Started off kind of lower down the lineup, and then maybe kind of 5-6 games in, started to get a few points, and then ended up also playing the line with Johnny and McBean and Cammy, and ended up really successful. And the team overall was just absolutely stacked for that level. Like we were an absolute joke, and I mean we definitely had a lot of fun. Maybe didn't always take it as seriously and end up pulling results out, but the amount of fun we had, and yeah, we just had a winning mentality that, you know, no matter what happened in a game, we're always gonna claw it back. So
And you know what? Fair play. We've said it so many times to Solway for making that step and coming up to the league, and that must have been quite cool for you as well. I think you were 20 years old at the time, knowing that you were going to go with the team going up to the league, and you were one of those guys who made the step up with the team. How did you find that first season? How big of a shock was it playing at that level? And yeah, maybe the highest. I don't know what they were like when you played in Canada, because that was a lot of junior hockey, but the highest men's level you've played at.
Of course, yeah. No, I mean I loved it. Like right from the start, like I was kind of looking for that kind of more competitive side of hockey again, where, you know, you weren't going into games knowing you were going to win. It was, you know, it's going to be a battle every night, and you know, I kind of find myself playing a different role. Kind of every team I'd played on growing up, and then even when I did go out to Canada and Hungary, I always played a kind of more offensive role. When I found myself playing, you know, third line centre, where, you know, you're out in matchups, you know, just try to stay even, and any plus that you get out there is a bonus.
Yeah.
And even just try to help the team any way I can. I mean, up until then, I don't think I'd ever had a fight in my life, and I had like 4 or 5 my first year. Wouldn't say I'd done too great, but I showed up for them,
Yeah.
and that's it. But just try to do anything I could to help the team win. And
Yeah.
the whole change, I had a whole kind of change in mindset. I had to get a lot fitter and stuff to play at that level, and just kind of change the way I played. But I'm so happy that I kind of took that jump as well. So
Nice
yeah.
one. And you're going into your third season. I just want to say as well, obviously, you got 15 points your first season. You doubled that last season. I know you probably would have sacrificed those points for Solway to get the playoff spot, but
Yeah.
you must have been happy with the development you personally had from your first season to your second season.
Yeah, no, I definitely. Even my first year, I thought I probably could have had more points as well. Last year, definitely more productive. I was playing a
Just
line
getting
with.
used to the league, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. I was playing a line with Mason as well, which makes things a lot easier. Um, and like I've got a really good relationship with Mason. He's one of my best friends off the ice. So having that relationship with him on the ice, you're always going to get more points when you have that kind of relationship. And don't get me wrong, we'd get into it quite a bit on the bench and stuff. But we both wanted the best for each other. And I think that got the better of me. I get hurt kind of a little bit again, kind of through the season, and it kind of slowed me down a little bit. Maybe kind of started the new year. To the point where I was kind of playing games. I wasn't really training. Just I kind of had a bad injury again on the femur, and took a while to get back going again. But I think kind of had that not happened, I think I could have produced more and try to help a bit more in getting us into the playoffs. But what, the boys did battle like right to the very end, and it went down to the wire again. It was heartbreaking, to be honest. Like 2 years in a row when you get that close and then follow up shot, it's just definitely a feeling I don't have to feel again.
But do you think going into the third season, because it is so hard, you've seen it with Bristol coming in as well,
Yeah.
and just how hard it is to get that playoff spot, but you've got a lot of the same guys there, and it's going to be changed up a little bit this season as well, but I think that's for the positive. But do you think after the last 2 years, you guys have kind of got used to those bus journeys, getting used to the teams, and you will be able to learn and get that playoff spot next season?
Yeah, well, ultimately, I think you kind of grow as a group as well.
Yeah.
But we've got a really, really, tight knit group of boys in there. To be honest, it's like obviously I've not played for any other teams league, but there's absolutely no cliques in our team. It's such a good environment to be in, and having the kind of setbacks is only going to make you stronger. And I think you look at the new boys that have brought in. Also, the imports have got good resumes and stuff, but the boys that I know in the likes of Spearsy and Carter, there's 2 guys have won trophies in this league in the last couple of years. So it's just bringing that winning mentality. And the types of players they are guys that will do anything for the team to win as well. So I think they are great additions, and I think that's only going to make the team stronger, especially with the way that we have been progressing.
I think as well, like Carter and Duncan have also like got points to prove in terms of they're going to be on those top lines now and being a big part of this Solway team. And I think you'll see an even better side of them. And what Carter's still 22 years old, so he's still so young like yourself.
Yeah.
I was going to ask, who's kind of a little ones to watch you've got for next season? We always say one, but who you've got a lot of young players coming through in this Solway team. So if you had to single out one, I know there's a lot of young talents, but if you had to single one who you're excited maybe to see the progression next season.
Yeah. I can't be seen as being biased here. Nah, to be honest, I skate with Torrin through the summer. And
Yeah.
he was a big boy as it was, but he's get so much stronger through the summer.
Has he? Oh, nice.
And to be honest, like he's another one who works so hard, and for someone his size, I just think in tight with a puck, like he can just do things that like he shouldn't be able to do at that size.
I think he scored like that goal last season through
Yeah,
it was ridiculous.
exactly. Yeah, and to be honest, it reminds me a lot like Ivan, same size,
Yeah.
moves like a much smaller guy. And to be honest, I think the sky's for the limit for him. Also, and Kyle as well, really, really talented. And I think the more these boys play bigger roles and more important minutes, they're only going to get better. And I think even last season, them playing the third line, there's a few games where they get some really important points for us, important goals, and they're only going to build on that as well. The more they play at this level, but Nah, I mean, it's to be honest, we've got a lot of boys with points to prove. I even think,
Oh yeah.
as you said, Carter, playing, a smaller role at MK. I've known Carter for honestly, I can't even tell you how long, and he's got so much to prove, and his game says that as well. And
Yeah.
I just love the way he plays. He plays hockey the right way, and
The
I think,
Solway way, I think it's going to be. I think
well,
my dad said on the one we've recorded, he's going to become an instant fan's favorite.
yeah, it's just the way he is. But it's you've got a few of them, and even Boydie, he's cut from the same
Oh
cloth
mate,
as well.
what a season he had last year! You know what I mean?
He's like the OG of that style of hockey. Nah, honestly, he's unbelievable guy, Boydie. But like just on the ice, like I think he'd be my most hated player to play against. I'm lucky enough I never had to play against him, but I couldn't cope playing against him.
That's good. You've got him on your team. I want to ask about one guy in particular. I think is going to have a massive impact on you guys getting a playoff spot. And there was a lot of times last year on them because I thought you were really good at home and you're comfortable playing on your ice. But after maybe some long journeys, you had leads in those away games and you couldn't quite shut some of them down. But Jake Bolton comes in 6'2", 100K, like he's a big boy, and I
Yeah.
think you just needed that one extra defenseman to come in who was able to play with KLBT, Arsenu, and Stenton, and that
Mhm.
kind of just completes your decor this season. And you must
Yeah.
take a lot of excitement knowing you can shut a game down with him.
Yeah, no, for sure. I've not had the chance to meet him yet, but from everything I've seen, he seems like a great guy and a great guy around the room, and also likes a Stents. He's played with him before, and so also had a lot of good things to say. But he's also played at top levels for a reason. And being that size and that stature, and even just listening to the way he spoke. He's another guy that just seems like he's willing to do anything he can to make the team win. They're the characters that we need about to get us to that next level. And
Yeah.
I've always said it, but I think with the mentality that our team has got, and I know it's maybe going off of kind of past glory and stuff like that, but I do think if we got into a situation where we find ourselves in the playoffs, I could see us making something happen.
Yeah.
Peterborough's kind of proved it the last couple of years, hasn't necessarily been the strongest team through the regular season and found their way into two finals, winning one of them. So I think we can play a brand of hockey that would suit the end of the year, and we just need to make sure we get there now.
Do you think as well, as you say, it's a very young team, and I know Martin's obviously coaching with the under 20s as well, so he's good with those younger players and developing them. But bringing someone Jake Bolton, 32 years old, to play with the likes of BT and Stenton, and even Arsenal, who's a bit younger, it just brings a bit more maturity to the team as well, which I think will help a lot.
Yeah, I think I mean, out of the four you've said it, Kel was probably forced to play a more mature game
Yeah.
for his age. Playing sometimes close to 30 minutes in a game. Um, so I mean, the development he's got from that though is night and day. I
You
mean, he's not
saw as the season went on, he got so much better.
exactly. And that's what I mean. Obviously, Kel and I, one of my really close friends. He even would have said himself. He found that maybe at the start of the season he was struggling to get going a little bit. He's competing every night, but he's just so hard on himself that he wants to be getting numbers and he wants to be producing offensively, but he just wants to be doing everything on the ice. He's just one of these intense guys. But I think being able to shift the load a little bit more from a guy as young as that, and let him learn a bit more from a guy that's played at the top levels. It's only going to be beneficial to him
Yeah.
in the long run.
Absolutely. I do want to ask about Stenton quickly because captain in the team at such
Yeah,
a young age. But for me, I said it like I think he was one of the best, if not the best, British defenseman last year, and that just speaks levels of how good Liam is. But what's he like being able to play with, and
yeah,
even at such young age, how's he impacted you as a captain?
yeah. I think we'll probably had the conversation down in Coventry. I
Yeah.
definitely think he's the best British defenseman in the league. I think he's just
He's got we got Ben O'Connor coming in now,
well,
so
yeah,
tough competition. But
he's got a pretty
last
good
year,
record.
100%.
Yeah, I'd definitely stand by that. But you know
Yeah,
what? Like Stents will give you everything,
yeah,
and that's all you can ask for. And I think as a leader, you know, he had such big shoes to fill from Struan as
yeah,
well. Just the kind of leader and person that he was, and like he'll be hard on himself and maybe say, "Oh, I could have done this better." And to be honest, he done the role perfectly in my eyes. He couldn't have done better, and he filled into already a tough job to fill. And as a player, he's just he just does everything right. He sometimes his biggest problem is just trying to carry the team on his back, and he'll say that himself. But it's kind of a good problem to have if a guy's willing to step up in the big moments and try and guide his team to win a game or get into the playoffs. It's the guy you want to have leading you, and the way he speaks to the boys, and just in every kind of scenario, he's the guy that you kind of look to. So I've known Spencer forever, to be honest. We grew up playing through the Scotland setups and stuff. We're the same age group, and he's always been the same. Even when he was 9, 10-year-old, he's still captains of all them teams and just a leader, kind of above everyone else. And I think I think everyone knew how good a player he was, but I think seeing how much of a leader he is, and just I think he leads by the way he plays as well. How much he gives on the ice. So I think everyone's kind of starting to see that even more and more now.
Nice one. Back to the team before we wrap it up. Just how good has Solway been for you personally in terms of the off-ice stuff and the way the whole club's treated, and after the game you're getting your meals and stuff like that? Just the fans integrating this. Even though Dumfries is a small little place, it's also tight knit and everyone knows each other, don't they?
I think it's the best place in the UK, to be honest. I love it, man. No, to be honest, it's such like almost like a kind of close community. It's like everywhere you go, everyone knows everyone. Like it's just got such a good feel to it. Like last year, I ended up staying down there full time, and just I mean, there's so much to do in the town for it being such a small town. I mean, all the boys like through the day were going golfing or
some of the walks you can do as well is just nuts.
Yeah, like we'd never be stuck with things to do. And as I said, we've got such a good group that the boys want to spend time together. So I mean, I've absolutely loved it. I think obviously the first year would be hard to beat. That I was there, obviously winning all the trophies and stuff like that. But as the levels got better, and every year it seems that the group of boys are closer than the year before. And I mean, I absolutely love playing there. I don't know if I can imagine playing anywhere else now, but no, honestly, it's a great place to play. And you probably find that most boys that do end up in Solway don't really end up leaving. So it's
exactly. It speaks to the levels of how many players are staying. But obviously, you did mention earlier Mason getting his chance in the Elite League. His kind of game style, I think, just suits what the Elite League would want in a young player like him, and he's still so talented and he hits like a truck.
I've not been in the receiving end of one of them, luckily enough. So honestly, like I think he's been in Scotland through the summer and stuff like that, and he's worked really hard in the off season to get himself ready for it. And as much as everyone talks about the physical play and how hard he hits and everything, like he is such a skilled player.
Remember the goal he scored against Swindon? He went round like 3 of them like it was nothing.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like when he puts his mind to it, he can change a game. And like on any given night, he could be the best player on the ice. Doesn't matter who you play against. It's just if you can get his mind in the right place, and if he's feeling it that night, then it's like the opposition's going to know about it, kind of thing. So no, I think he'll push on now and have a really good elite league career. Like he's one of the guys, and I think, as you said, he plays the game.
Fife's a good opportunity for him as well. Obviously, a team looking to come up.
He's coming into a good situation, and I think it's going to work well for him. And I've seen the same with obviously Johnny McBean being one of my good friends as well. He had a good opportunity in Dundee, and you see how talented he is, and he's really took it. How many points he put up last year. Arguably get snubbed at a GB mention for the camps and stuff like that. But no, I think Mason could have that same kind of impact, and what Mason has and kind of high skill level, that physical compete level and stuff like that. Like he's gonna be just as much of a menace there eventually as he is in our league. So
he might get. The thing is, though, he won't get called for as much though when he is being his physical self, because the Elite League obviously is a lot more physical league than the National League. We'll end it up by. I'll ask about the Solway fans, because you had some of the sellout games last year. I think I saw on your social media against Milton Keynes, it was like a nearly 1,200 fans through your door, which is crazy. But They're always behind your back, and I'm sure they're going to be willing you on for that playoff spot this year. So what's your kind of message to the Solway fans watching?
No, just to keep showing up in numbers. I think all the games that were kind of close to sales are some of the best games we had. So no, just keep showing up, and this year's going to be the year. So yeah.
Nice one. That's what they want to hear. We actually play. You're on the road for the first few weeks, didn't you? So you play down in Swindon that first game. So I'll make sure to say hello. And good luck for this season. I really want you guys to get that playoff spot.
No, I appreciate it, mate. Thanks for having
Nice
me
one.
on.
Thanks, Lewis. Hello and welcome back to the second half of the team special. And we'll start with the goalies, which are unchanged. Jordan Marr and Callum Hepburn was the duo. And Callum Hepburn, he got a few games last year, but Jordan Marr's the starter. And you know what Jordan Marr's like. We've seen him at Peterborough. He's won trophies with Peterborough, but I think the defense last year, Dan, they struggled a little bit in letting the goals in, and I don't think Jordan Marr got quite as much protection as maybe he did at a Peterborough. But I think this year, Martin Grubb's seen that, and Solway have seen that, and they've really improved the defensive core in front of Jordan Marr. And I think naturally that will just make Jordan Marr more confident, and I think he'll have a much better season as well.
Yeah, I mean, it was obvious what they needed to focus on this summer. We said it at the start of the podcast. We said that they struggled to sort of shut down those games. They were leading games and ended up losing games. You can't go into the season doing that. You have to have that stability at the back and really be able to shut down games when needed. And sort of when you take the lead, you need to be able to build on that and not sort of going in the other direction. And looking at what they've built in D, it looks unreal. Like it looks very, very scary. Like that is a D core that can shut down a game in any rink, I would say. Like anywhere that they go, we've said that they need to be better on the road. That is a D core and a goaltender there that can shut down a game. And that's exactly what you need on the road. And well, I'm sure we're going to go into each signing, but it's looking at it from how what sort of lines what sort of D pairings they could make into that team is a pretty scary thought.
Yeah, so they've got their 60 men, Dad. And you keep the likes of Kel Beattie and Liam Stenton, two unbelievable talented young players. Stenton captaining the team at 23 years old. And I've got to say, I think he's arguably the most talented Brit in the National League. I know Ben O'Connor's just come in, but from last season, so good. And Kel Beattie improved a lot as the season went on. Obviously, we interviewed him and he said he had a tough kind of start, but he got better as the season went on. He got a few goals as well. And you bring back Arsenal on a 2-year deal, who I think played so many minutes last season. He was overplayed. And I think coming into this season, you bring in Jake Bolton, and he has plenty of experience. And I think that is exactly what Solway need. They need an experienced defenseman who's going to come in 6'2", 100 kg. He's known for absolutely leathering players. He's played in the ECHL, which is such a tough grinding league in America, played NCAA. He then come over to the UK, played in the Elite League with the Guildford Flames. He scored 31 points in a season for them. And then he played for the Glasgow Clan for a season, scored 17 points there. Sorry, I got the hiccups. But that is a huge addition. That is a defensive core just revitalized by one big signing. And yes, it takes away from an import forward, which they might have been able to add. But I think looking at last season, they struggled with, as Dan said, shutting a game down and conceding too many goals. And bringing in a player like Jake Bolton, the size, the stature, he'll add points as well from defense. I just think the top four now, in the top 4D, the top two lines they got in D, is one of the best in the league.
And you hope that's going to give I've just forgotten their keeper's name now. Jordan Marr, sorry. Hope that's going to give Jordan Marr a lot of confidence, especially in pre-season, knowing he's got a real strong D in front of him. Yeah, I mean, I'm just comparing it really to the strength of their D, and then you were talking about Hull in the Hull special. They've gone all forwards. Yeah. But Solway needed to wrap up that D. That's their priority. And I think I think the home again is going to be a fortress, and those players are going to step up. Bolton will step up. There's some big guys in goal and big guys in D at the moment. And so a huge responsibility for Bolton, but yeah, looking forward to it, and I'm sure Jordan Marr is as well.
It means, Dan, that they don't have to overplay. I
No.
dread to think what Liam Stenton, Kel Beattie, and Arson News ice time were after a 6-hour trip down to Romford and having to play in front of the Romford crowd. It just takes a bit of pressure off. Then you can then have a third pair of Danskin and Kerr, and those guys are probably what you'd say third line defensemen who have a big role to play this year, and they won't have to play up a line and play too many minutes. And it will just be so balanced, I think, this season. And Solway fans can take confidence that if they do get a 2 or 3 goal lead, they have the defence now, the full D core, which it's a core. It's not just 1 or 2 guys, it's a defensive core who can shut down the game.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about the importance of rolling 4 lines in forward. It's just as important at the other end, rolling 3 lines in D. Obviously, arguably, you'd say they sort of take a bit more sort of strain of playing. Obviously, they're the ones that are going to have to sort of handle the forecheck. They're going to have to handle the puck, sort of carrying the puck up. They've got a big task in front of them, and being able to have that balance in D, have those clear top 4D, and then that third pair, which is also a very, very good third pair. We talk about Leeds last year having players like Ollie Endicott, Innes Gallagher. These are guys that know how to play a third line. You've got Kerr and Danskin there that know how to play a third pair D, and they're guys there that can do out of third pair D men around the league. They're probably up there with one of the top, even in the third pair. So their decor is looking very, very good, and I don't think they'll struggle with keeping pucks out of the net. It's just down to the forwards now to really get those goals again and gain the lead.
Yeah, I think it's become quite a switch, hasn't it? Because we'll go on to it now. Dunbar has gone to the Bristol Pitbulls. Gardner has gone to I think it was the German 4 League. And then you've got Alderson, who's made the step up to the Elite League with 5. So you've lost, and Callie Robertson, sorry. So those are arguably your top 4 forwards who've made the move elsewhere, but you've brought in a lot of guys. And you've obviously brought in the 2 new imports, and we'll quickly touch on Gardner and Dunbar because I think you do have to talk about them. Dad, as much as they haven't made the playoffs, they have had such big impacts on Solway, and to really carry that forward core, and they will be a big miss for them in terms of just being able to score out of nothing, and create goals as a partnership. And I think they will miss them a little bit next year. Actually, not a little bit. They will miss them.
Yeah, without a doubt. And they've been instrumental, haven't they, with Solway coming into the league as well. The fans love them. They'll be sad to see them go, but I think they've helped build a base that Solway need to be able to build on now, to the next level. It is going to be a bit of a tough one, with so many coming in. But what do you do? Players are going to develop and move on, and this is the time for Solway to build that forward core now, and hopefully to support that D pairings that they've got.
Yeah, it's a switch. If it hasn't worked the first 2 times, Dan, you bolster your decor with that big import defenseman, and you've got to now rely on some of those depthy guys. And we'll talk about the first. We'll talk about the 2 imports first. Derek Osset comes in. He comes in, 27 years old, can play that centre role, which is big. He can be their top line centre now to come in, run that top line, and he's played in the NCAA, he's played SPHL, he's played a bit of ECHL on loans for some games, and he scored 42 points last season, his best scoring season in the SPHL, and that's what Solway fans want to hear. He's coming off the back of a very good season at centre, and we're seeing so many SPHL players come into the National League and succeed. So I think he's going to come in and have a big role to kind of control that top line and help at both ends of the ice. It's not just the D men who need to be better as a defensive core. It's the whole team which needs to help the D core as well. And I think that Derek Osek is going to do that, Dan.
Yeah, I mean, he finished last season top point scorer in his team.
Yeah.
He knows how to score points, and he's a guy that is going to be able to play both sides of the puck. Obviously, playing in defence, bringing bringing the puck back into their zone and playing it out that way, and also being that guy in the offensive zone that is going to be able to run the play. I think it's a good little signing from Romford. It's a guy. Obviously, he's played in a lot of like you said, he's played in a lot of the leagues that you mainly see the imports come into this league from, and he's put up good numbers. I think coming to Solway off one of his best point scoring years is always going to be a positive. Obviously, like we said, hockey is a massive confidence game. He's going to be coming off bags of confidence from that year, scoring his most points, and I think if he can carry that sort of mentality into Solway, they're gonna be in for a very good import there because they need a point scorer. They need guys to fill in those points that they've lost. And if anyone's going to do it, it's going to be these imports that really need to step up and sort of take the game. And it's a bit like Miller did with Romford. They need to take the game and really score those big goals and get those big points for the team.
Yeah, we're not saying they have to go out and get 50 goals like a Nolan Gardner. But if the score lines are being kept low, scoring them big moments, and Dylan Stewart is someone who comes from Edmonton, big up Edmonton, up the Oilers, but he comes
He
from
must be good then.
6'2", 95 kg again, big player. Can play center or left winger. He played in the WHL, which was one of the top youth leagues. He then come through the ACAC, played SPHL as well. So they've signed a couple lads from the SPHL and scored some good points in the SPHL. So they'll just be hoping, Dad, that these two new boys can come in. They're going to be hungry. They're at that age, 27 years old. You're in what you call your prime age, I guess, into a new team. And those two are the star forwards now, and they've got a big responsibility, having known that Dunbar and Gardner got a lot of points. They got to come in and prove themselves now of being the top two guys in forward for Solway.
Yeah, they got a good pedigree, good previous seasons as well. So yeah, I mean the expectations are going to be high. There's quite a bit of responsibility on their shoulders. I'm just looking forward to the Solway Bristol game, to be fair. I think that's going to be an absolute cracker, isn't it? An absolute corker. So, yeah, they're going to take that responsibility. I think, again, at home, it's going to be, they're going to be setting it up for being a fortress. Yeah. They're going to want to score plenty of goals at home and then take it away, see what happens. But, yeah, some good signings there with strong D as well.
Yeah, it's exciting. Seeing the new import signings come into play. And then we look at the new Brits they've brought in. Duncan Spears, I think, was the worst kept secret. He was going to go to Solway, obviously being Scottish himself. And he's recovered from that injury, Dan, and he's scored some good points over the years. People forget he played in the Elite League and scored some points over in Dundee. And he's going to come into Solway at that age of 28 years old, in that prime where he's probably going to have more responsibility for Solway than he did at Peterborough, and I think you could see an even better Duncan Spears next season.
Yeah, he's a guy that's going to be wanting sort of, I feel like, a comeback year. Sort of, obviously we know he got that injury, which I'm so glad that he's obviously been able to play again and have the year that he had last year. But coming home to Solway, he's gonna feel more comfortable just naturally, sort of being in. He's probably gonna have his family probably gonna be there every week watching him play. Maybe he's not been able to have that playing in Peterborough, and I think the off-ice stuff is even bigger than the on-ice stuff. And I think if you can get a guy that's happy off the ice, I think it's just going to translate to their game. And I feel like Duncan Spears, he's like you said, he's at that age now where he's probably been planning on going back home for a few years now. And this is like the perfect opportunity for him to play for a team like Solway that need that experience. They need a guy that's played in some experienced teams under experienced coaches and sort of bring that mentality into this young team. And yeah, it seems like we said it was a worst kept secret, but it seems like it's a perfect sort of time for Spears to move up to Solway.
Yeah. And then another big signing for them, Dad, who's also going to be hungry to play in that top line kind of top six role, is Carter Hamill. Just come off the back of winning the playoffs with Milton Keynes, and he had a big role on that third line for Milton Keynes. But he's going to come in hungrier than ever. To score and prove that he can be one of the top point scoring Brits in this league. And you know what you're getting with Carter Hammer, and I think he's going to be able to fit straight into Solway, forechecking, hitting, fighting if he needs to, getting in front of the net. I just think it's a great fit for him, and I know he's hungry to prove himself and to take that next step in his career. And I love this signing for him and Solway as well. I think he's someone who they need.
Yeah, and he's been great on the podcast as well. So I think he's going to be a bit of a fan favourite. I think in front of the crowd, I think he's going to get them going. I think, and if he does the business on ice, I think they're going to love him. He's just going to get under the skin of everybody, isn't he? And everybody's going to loathe him in the opposition. And the opposition fans are just going to go, oh, here he goes again. And if he does that, he's done his job really well and gets the points on the board. So yeah, I think this is going to be I think it's a really good move actually for him. I think it's going to give him more responsibility. He's coming in new with some new players as well, so he's not just the only new boy. So but he knows the league. He knows some of the other teams really well. So I think he's got a bit of a responsibility here of bedding down the new imports and getting that forward core going. So yeah, good move from my prediction. He's going to be a fan favourite. He absolutely is.
Yeah, I think so. And one who hasn't been confirmed. We've heard a lot of rumours. That's all I'm going to say. It might not be true, by the way, but Jordan Boyser has been heavily rumoured. If they do manage to get Boyser as well, that's another Scot to go down to Solway, or go up to Solway, shall I say, and play a big part in their top six role. And I think he's due a massive bounce back season from last year as well. And I think with more responsibility at Solway, that could be what he needs. And then you've got the returnees such as Lewis Young, who might be on that third line centre, which I think will be massive for them. You've got the likes of Boyd, who had a really good season last year and made himself a presence in the National League, scored so many breakaway goals. You get Coulter back. You're looking to Henderson to have an improved season because he's got so much talent. And the young guys who we mentioned in the first part of Torren Anderson, Carl Carruth, Bailey Thompson, they're going to be a year older, a year more experience in the National League. So it's exciting for Solway, and that leads us nicely into the expectations. They have to make playoffs this year. Third time lucky. They've gone with a new route, which I think was needed in terms of bolstering that defensive core with Jake Bolton. It means they've got their three defensive lines. They have to make playoffs. I think they've made some great additions, Dan. I know the league's got better, but they're one of those teams which have been teetering around. They finished ninth back to back. They just got to get one more place up to get that playoff spot and have some playoffs in Solway, which I think will be so fun. But something we haven't mentioned, I think they're going to be playing on the road for the first few weeks whilst their rink gets sorted. So they're going to have to get over that hump. But it means they get out the way some away games so they can then have some big home games maybe for the second half of the season. But yeah, playoffs, Dan. I think Dan and Dad, I think that's the main consensus, isn't it?
Yeah, playoffs is a must. I think they need to get better on the road, like we were talking about at the start. Obviously, it's tough. We know it's tough. Obviously, the travel from Solway to some of these games, like for example, Basingstoke are back in the league now. That's going to be a long travel for them. But they need to. They're in this league now. They need to sort of get used to this travel. And I mean, the road games are the reasons why they've not been able to get those playoff spots. They've lost out on points on the road, and if they want to make a playoff spot, they need to get over that hump. They can't just rely on home games. They need to pick up those points on the road, those gritty points, those dirty points that no teams expect to get, but they always try and get them. And that's what Solway need to do. And that, like you said, they've built a team now that can win you those games on the road. They may not be obviously the highest score lines you'll ever see because I think their offense has probably got worse, maybe because of the points that they've lost in offense, but their defense has definitely got better. So if they can get games, for example, 4-2, 5-3, those score lines, that's happy days. A win's a win at the end of the day, and just keeping the puck out of your own net is only gonna take the pressure off those forwards that maybe can't score you as much points as Dunbar and Gardner, but yeah, it's going to be a massive team effort in Solway this year.
Yeah. Dad, anything else to add on that, or it's just similar to what we said?
I think it's similar. I think I sense I don't know. Just going through the team, I sense that Solway, they've got a new forward line in, which is a bit unknown. But they got some steady, some new players in as well. Hamill, Spears. They've got to make those playoffs. Absolutely, got to make it. I mean, it was and they're on the road for the first few games of the season. I think was that the year Swindon were on. Swindon had to do the same thing with their rink.
Yeah.
And we saw somehow, sometimes that builds momentum when there's
a
bit of a
out
challenge.
Of it better, yeah.
Absolutely, it can build, and they've got to use that to their advantage. I think they're playing Swindon fairly early on, aren't they?
Yeah, Swindon Bristol first weekend.
Yeah. So if there cannot be a bigger incentive than going down to Bristol and playing them. Yeah. Playoffs definitely. Who knows?
Yeah, you just don't know with the cups, but yeah, playoffs. I think this year is what everyone's saying, and wants to watch is then who's going to help them get to that point. And Dad, I'll come back to you first. Who's going to be that guy who's going to make a big impact for them this season?
I'm going to go for who I think is going to be the fans' favourite. So Carter Hamill. I think we've just gone through the new offensive core and some of the youngsters there, and he's still a young chap, but he's going to have massive responsibility for those youngsters below him, but also building that bridge with the new imports who aren't probably that much older than him anyway. So I think Carter Hamill will make a huge impact. And looking forward to him coming to play in Swindon. Absolutely.
Dan, who are you going to go for?
I'm going to go with Torren Anderson.
Okay, yeah.
He's a young, very skilled forward. He scored a very nice goal last season. I remember, a little between the legs goal. But obviously, again, talking about the forwards, they need to score goals, and if they're going to get points, they need to get these young guys stepping up. And I think Torren Anderson, he had a good year last year. Obviously, playing 45 games, getting 18 points is a very good sort of points count for a young guy like that. And I think he knows what it means to be a Solway player, and I think he's going to be able to have a good year next year. I think if he can reach maybe 20 points, I think give him 20 points, 25 points. I think that's a good little marker for him. And I mean, if he can get 25 points on the board, that's going to be a massive help for Solway. And yeah, he's a young lad with a very bright future that they're going to be hoping that they can keep hold of.
He might get given a bigger role this year as well, with opportunities opening up. I'm going to go with the obvious one then, because you two haven't gone with it. Jake Bolton. Sorry, I've got to go for him. Otherwise, people will be like, why is Bolton not on here? Well, I'm going for him because this is the guy you bring in, elite league pedigree, can score points as well, who had a bit of everything, and he'll add a bit of toughness to that decor as well, which has got a lot of skilled players. So I think he's going to be the tough guy in front of Jordan Marr, who's going to make some opposition forwards pretty nervous when they're running into him. So yeah, Jake Bolton's mine. That wraps up the Solway special. Please do go and watch our other specials if you haven't already. We are adding them quick because the season's only got 3 or 4 weeks left until the preseason game starts. So we hope you've enjoyed this one. Please do like, subscribe, follow our socials at Macca's Talk Hockey. I think we're so close to 1,000 followers on Instagram. And we'll see you in the next special. Peace.